Hello, everyone. So I'm Dave Briggs, Head of Digital Operations at Croydon Council. It's a job that until relatively recently was called Head of ICT before we sort of rebranded. But my job really is I look after the day-to-day IT operations. I also look after our sort of major programs to make sure they're being delivered all right. And I manage our sort of team of developers as well. I report into a Chief Digital Officer at the council. He's Neil Williams. He was one of the first employees at GDS, and he ended up being the overall product manager for the gov.uk website. So he knows what he's talking about as well. And he's in CDS, which is what we call our department now, the Croydon Digital Service. We were created when Neil joined the council, and there was a big effort there to bring together all the various teams relating to technology. So we scooped up the traditional IT service, also the web team. We had a CRM team that also managed our online account stuff, and various application support teams as well. So all came together, a bit of a centralising effort into one place. And we've been in a more or less, folk will be used to this, I'm sure, but we've been in a more or less constant state of change really for the last 18 months in terms of changing the way that we're working, changing the type of work that we're focusing on, looking at all of our tooling and technology and dealing with the various crises that seem to come our way on a fairly regular basis, not always our own fault on that. So, as I say, so we've got quite a wide-ranging remit. We've also got the communications function that comes under us at the council as well. And we produced, to really sort of guide our work and things and to get a bit of political buy-in into what we're doing, we produced a digital strategy for Croydon. Now, I know there's a lot of debate sometimes about whether organisations really need digital strategies, but we felt like we did. It was a useful thing for us to be able to do in order to articulate what it was that we wanted to do with the council services and technology. And you can find that on our website. I'll happily ping a link to Nick so he can sort of circulate that around to folk. I obviously think it's an absolutely wonderful strategy. You might have a differing view, but I'll be certainly interested to hear about those. But that strategy really is based around three main elements. There's digital council, which is the way that we use technology ourselves, the way that we organise ourselves, the way that we approach our work. And that includes the technology and the systems and things that our staff are using on a regular basis. The second bit is around digital services, which is how our residents and businesses and communities interact with us, whether through our website, through our online platforms and other things. So that's all, and the way that we can deliver those services in a more efficient, but most importantly, user-friendly way that actually meets the needs of our residents is a really important part of that work and how we approach it. And then the third bit is called Digital Borough, and that's why what we were just hearing about around digital inclusion was really, really interesting, because digital inclusion forms a really important part of the Digital Borough thread of work. And there's also bits in pieces there, which is around Internet of Things, open data, but also boosting the local Croydon digital economy. So what can we do to attract digital businesses into Croydon and to support them and that ecosystem? And that's a really interesting piece of work that we've been enjoying to push on with that. We do blog quite regularly. So if you go to croydon.digital, you'll be able to read the latest stuff that we've been working on, and there's links to various bits and pieces that have been going on there. So very, very much worth your time having a look at that blog. I'll get on to some of the COVID stuff in a moment, but just that if I was to talk about sort of three big pieces of work that we've really been focusing on within the team in the last 18 months, and a lot of this is going forward as well. The first one is quite a significant piece of organisational change that we've been doing within CDS. So if you were to add up everybody that works with us, which includes various teams of contractors and things like that as well, depending on the day of the week, we've often got something like 120 or so people across the digital service. As I say, that does include comms as well and some other bits and pieces. And very much a tradition, when we inherited it, very much a traditional local government IT service that we wanted to change. So we did a bit of rebranding. We started calling ourselves the digital team, just to try and, not that it has any great significance, but it was just really to as a demonstration of the fact that things are different now compared to the way they were before. And the key thing that we want to talk about is the way in which we We want to talk about how we focus on user needs rather than business requirements, that, it's about meeting outcomes rather than just delivering on technical specifications, all this good stuff that people are talking about an awful lot of the time. But we've been really trying to bake that into the culture of the department, and also the way that we organise ourselves as well. And a big part of that, there are two big parts of that really, actually, that I'll briefly talk about now. One was around some of the new roles and new skills that we created within the service. So again, we inherited fairly traditional setup with project managers and business analysts and all of that kind of stuff, which is important, and we still have all of those. But we've got content designers, interaction designers, user researchers, product managers, delivery managers, people who are used to working in very, very different ways, people who've got experience of that kind of thing. So, that they'd actually got experience of working in highly agile environments. They were used to using user-centered design in approaching their work. And that kind of thing. So we weren't just sort of talking about this kind of stuff theoretically. We'd got people who've been there and done that, and they were able to really sort of drive that new approach forward. And we found that sort of injection of new talent and different capabilities, just moved our culture on significantly, and has resulted in, getting much, much better feedback on the performance of our department from the rest of the council. They find us more approachable, more amenable. We don't just say no to stuff all the time, but actually we're a lot more helpful and constructive, which goes down really well, particularly when we ask for more money for things and that kind of stuff. The other element to that change within the department is around the way that we deliver some of our core technology services. So previously, we were lucky enough to have a single sort of monolithic outsourcing contract with Capita. We decided, for a number of reasons, that perhaps that wasn't the best thing for us to be doing. So we moved to a multi-sourced approach, where we took some of the pieces of work away from Capita. They kept some elements of it. They still look after our networks and our hosting, but we moved our end user support away from Capita to a smaller company, an SME called Littlefish, who are based up in Nottingham. They've been absolutely brilliant. There is somewhere on the internet an absolutely fascinating 10-minute video of me talking about how great Littlefish are, which you may or may not wish to watch. Again, I can dig the link out for you. But we also moved our telephony contracts and our print contracts and that kind of thing. We also in-housed a couple of our services as well. So, that was a fairly big, grunty bit of change that we needed to go through. There was a big old procurement exercise, a big old onboarding exercise. But actually what we found is that the much more flexible approach we've got now to that central technology element of what we do has gone down really well across the council. Our satisfaction is much, much higher as a result of doing that change. So even though it was painful, it was definitely worth doing in terms of the sort of the response we've got from the rest of the council. The other two big bits of work that we're doing, the first one is we're doing a complete rewrite and redesign of our website. We use an open source content management thing called Drupal for that. Others, I'm sure, will do as well. What we've done, which is quite interesting, is that we managed to win a couple of bids of money from the MHCLG digital fund to actually do code sharing around that. So what we're actually building, along with Brighton Council and Oxfordshire, Bracknell Forest, a few others, is a shared code base in Drupal for a local authority website. So it's in effect like a website out of the box. It's got loads of sort of customized functionality, lots of all the page templates that councils might need. And we're just looking at how we can completely genericize that code so that anybody can come along and pick it up, but also contribute back to the open source nature of the project, so that everyone's sort of pitching in and doing bits of work around that. And that's been going really well. We've already launched some beta pages and sections on the website. Those are already live, and we're looking to get the whole lot done by February, March time next year. So that's super exciting. The other thing that we've got going on is we inherited a big Microsoft Dynamics CRM thing with a bespoke My Account style .NET application built over the top of that, which was pretty inflexible, incredibly expensive to maintain, and wasn't going to give us what we needed in terms of the user experience and that kind of thing. So we've been assessing our options over the last year, and in January we chose Netcall's solution for low-code development, the Liberty Create platform, previously known as Matsoft in an earlier life. And we're going to use that to start migrating away from Dynamics and I say, and this bespoke application to move over to this new platform. And not only do we think that's going to give us a much better user experience and things, because we can throw all of our user research and our service designers at it to make sure we do a really great job on that. But also, actually, it's going to save us significant amounts of money, particularly over the hosting and licensing costs around Dynamics. So that's going to be a big win for us. So rattling on in terms of sort of COVID and stuff and what we've been doing there, Croydon Council's got just over 4,000 employees, and overnight they were all suddenly working from home. That caused us a few palpitations. We were quite lucky, really, from the IT operations side of things, in that we'd been thinking about it for about a month. So, one or two of us have been reading about what had been happening in China and elsewhere. We thought something like this might be coming along. So we were able to start planning with a few weeks' notice. So it didn't come entirely overnight to us. But basically, we were all set up to go with some Microsoft Direct Access as a way for people to be able to sort of connect their laptops from home. And we found that with one small blip, a career-threatening blip, I might add, but luckily one that it didn't actually go as wrong as it could have done. We had two days of outage at one point, which was very hairy. But other than that, the infrastructure and everything's been rock solid, and all of those staff have been able to work from home absolutely fine, which has been terrific. And to be fair to us, and what's been really useful to us, is that's gone down obviously very well with our chief executive and others. So that's given us quite a big credibility boost, which has been fantastic. The other thing that we did was we rolled out Microsoft Teams. We were already planning on doing it. And we had this big step-by-step program to roll out Teams to the whole organization that was going to take about a year. And it was going to involve loads of engagement and training and all that kind of stuff. That went out the window straight away. And we found out actually we could do it in a week. Just by switching it on for people and running some sort of quite large-scale training sessions using Teams as the delivery mechanism for that. And you know what? Was it perfect? No. Is it absolutely fine? Yes. And pretty much everybody in the organisation now is comfortable using Teams, and they're well into the swing of working virtually and remotely. So that was really terrific for us. The other bits and pieces that we did, there's huge amounts of work on the web that needed to be done with COVID. So one of the things that we did was quite a few of our service web pages had to be completely rewritten. We set up a sort of COVID service hub on the website so that people could see in real time which services were and weren't affected by COVID, so they could get some understanding around the level of service they were likely to get to the council. And that really helped us in terms of reducing the demand on the contact centre in particular, because people genuinely were looking it up before phoning in. So that was a really big help for us. But the other thing that, again, COVID, in a way, it was, there's that sort of adage, isn't there, about, not giving up the opportunity that's created by a good crisis or whatever. And as I say, earlier in the year, we had bought the Liberty Create platform from Netcore with a plan for this long-term piece of work around migrating away from Dynamics and other things. And what it meant, though, was that when COVID hit and there was suddenly a requirement for a number of new digital solutions to be able to set up new services, because we'd got this platform, this tool available to us, it meant that actually we were able to spin these up quite quickly. And again, we got huge amounts of credit with the rest of the council for being able to do that, and we got some great feedback from residents. So we built 4 applications in the low-code environment for COVID. First one was, and the most important one really, was a case management system around shielded and vulnerable people, which has been absolutely invaluable. We did another one which is around council tax relief. We did a business continuity, so an internal tool, but business continuity tool for situation reporting around staffing levels and that kind of thing. And then the fourth one, which is the one I'm going to go into a little bit of detail in if we've got time, is around the business grants application that we built, which was an end-to-end system for people to be able to apply for and get the business grants that we had available. So I'm going to flick across to some PowerPoint slides, if I can. Hopefully that's right. Can you see those? I'm sure Nick will let me know if that's not working. So, as I say, we've now got this ability to deliver using this low-code platform to rapidly deliver end-to-end digital services, which is really important. I can share these slides around at the end. I'm not proposing to read them all out, but these are the things that we're hoping to be using our low-code platform for. And of course, when the COVID crisis hit, we rapidly changed direction and started using this toolkit to very quickly deliver some of these new services. And eventually, this is the sort of idea that we're working towards around some of the sort of this is very high level, sort of fairly abstracted architecture around what we want to be able to do. But we want to be able to build as many generic capabilities as we can and basically reuse those over and over again to build out consistent and easily supported workflows for both our residents to use and indeed for staff as well on the back end. So that we, as I say, the key thing here is about the reuse of common cloud capabilities. So as I say, we did the SITREP tool, we did a business rates grant thing around, which also included the council tax, the shielding database, and the business discretionary grant fund, which is what I'm going to talk about. And each time we built one of these, we had to create components, or we've done integrations which can then be reused elsewhere. So what did we need to do for this discretionary grants things? Well, this came up through our economic development department, and we needed to be able to get the problem to solve was being able to get this funding from central government to our businesses as quickly as possible. We needed to be able to triage the applications. We needed to collect data and evidence from elsewhere. We need to do some processing and award the funding as well. And we had to, it would run for a month. But the key thing here was the speed, that we had to get it up and running in early June because these businesses were crying out for this money. And also we were being quite heavily performance managed by central government, who wanted to know how much money that we were going to be sort of sending out. So we put together a multidisciplinary team working across a number of different sort of stakeholders and internal users. You can see the kind of roles that we had involved in that. And as I say, we built this public-facing end-to-end solution with an online form. It had some digital signing in there, back office processing. We could report, and we had a dashboard built in. And also we integrated it with customer notifications. So those that are applying for the grants got text messages and email alerts through the integration with gov.uk Notify. So that, again, it meant they weren't bothering the contact centre because they were kept up to date all the way through. So we built this, there's a few screenshots here. I'll whiz through these. There was a public-facing form, which included some triage questions. All of this follows a thing that we rather pompously call the Croydon design system, which is basically a bootstrap-based bit of style sheeting, so that all of our both our website and all of our forms will always follow the same consistent method of collecting information, the same look and feel, and all of that kind of stuff. So these are some of the questions that we ask. We data collect around all the information that we needed from the businesses so that we could check what's going on. People could upload documents into this as well where that was necessary. And you can see, the way that we can upload different types of evidence, and the people applying could see what they'd uploaded and what else they needed to do and things like that along the way, which was great. We could get people to do some digital signing on here. So if they're on a tablet or something like that, they could use their finger. Otherwise, you'd have to sort of scribble with a mouse or something like that. But we were able to do that, and that was all built in within the Netcall platform. So that was great. Here's where we've integrated with gov.uk Notify for text messages and for emails to let people know what's been going on. And this included links for people to be able to click and go straight into their applications. They could update them if they needed to. Here we can see some of the back end stuff, so people can see how much work is in each queue, what needs to happen next, and all of that kind of thing. The processors had ways, a checklist that they had to work through to manage that sort of workflow there. And again, this was all done by doing some user research with them to make sure we designed it in a way that made sense for them and didn't create too much work. And we could also manage communications. So this is almost like a little bit of a CRM light thing that was built into the back of this thing, so that any information coming to and from the customers, we can check that, and we've got an audit trail of all that kind of stuff. And again, built in using the reporting functions that are built into the Liberty Create platform, we're able to create pretty dashboards. We can export files for data analysis and produce graphs and that kind of stuff as well. And we use Trello as our way of managing the backlog, recording the user stories, and we've still got stuff that is being looked at as we go through on that. But the really great thing for us is that this whole thing, from the initial stakeholder meeting to go live, was done in 9 working days. And that's just the difference that having this kind of low-code platform available to us makes, that we can just bash this stuff out so quickly. And it got quite a lot of interest across the council, as you can probably imagine. And currently we're sort of fending off quite a few requests for similar sort of help, now that people know what we're able to do. And this is quite nice. This is almost this is extremely rare, quite frankly, that we get this kind of praise for some of our council services on Twitter. This is somebody saying that just how good it looks, and how it makes, look at that, makes the banks look like amateurs. So we were really pleased to be seeing that, and it went down very well with our politicians as well. And again, our colleagues are very happy with us, which is always nice to hear. I know we've got a few sort of lessons learned here for us, that we can move a lot quicker with low code, but actually there were some lessons learned for us here around sort of estimating. Even though we got it done quickly, originally we thought we might be able to get it done quicker. We've got to base it on the fact that we needed to make sure that this is a new technology to CDS staff, so we need to bear that in mind, giving time for stakeholders, because they're not always available when we want them to be. And we also need to make sure, we've got time in there for security assessments and all of that kind of stuff. So that is my very quick, I appreciate that I've sort of chatted through that really, really quickly, but hopefully that gives some idea around, the sorts of things that we can start doing. And our aim now that we've done that sort of emergency response work around COVID, and we've sort of proved the case for low code as being a way for developing applications, we're hoping now that we can start migrating some of our sort of legacy digital services away from the old Dynamics.net stuff and onto low code, and we can start presenting this really nice, consistent user interface to all of our customers. So we're really pleased with the way that that's been going. And I think I'm going to stop talking.